Welcome to the only daily podcast focusing on compliance news of the day. Each morning, start your day with a cup of coffee and Tom Fox, the voice of compliance, to hear about 4 of the top compliance, corruption, or leadership stories you will need to start your day. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.
First, a word from this month's sponsor, Ethico.
If you're a compliance officer, middle managers are crucial in getting your programs from you to your frontline employees. But how do we activate those managers and get them on our side? Ethico's new Middle Manager Toolkit equips you with the skills needed to empower your managers, to promote a culture where ethical behavior thrives and employees feel empowered to speak up. Learn how to turn frontline managers into ethical leaders with our new white paper, Empowering Middle Managers as Ethics Champions. And did I mention you can get the whole toolkit for free? Head to ethico.com to download the full toolkit today.
The Daily Compliance News for February 24, 2025, the Regulatory Vacuum Edition. And we begin with that story from the Wall Street Journal, Risk and Compliance Journal. Richard Vandeford reporting that the funding cuts at the CFPB are seen leading to a regulatory vacuum for big banks. The turmoil at the agency could not only harm consumers, but also small state-chartered banks as bigger rivals gain from lax CFPB supervision. And of course, lax supervision means more dodgy, illegal, unethical activity, which of course leads to more fraud. So a functioning fraud watchdog is without one. It's a major regulatory gap, according to 23 state attorney generals going forward. In a very interesting article from Reuters by Daniel Foreman, he gives us 10 takeaways for addressing artificial intelligence in 10 Ks. They are clearly defined AI, impact on your business strategy, research and development you're going on, competitive position it puts you in, regulatory developments, risk factors, management discussion and analysis, cybersecurity disclosures, corporate governance and human capital, and process considerations. It's a really good article, and I hope you will take a look at it and advise your senior management on it. Next up from the New York Times, they ask who really wants to go back into Russia. Think Brittany Griner. Because the Russians can turn on your company and your employees on a dime. Whatever you've seen happen in China, think about that times 10 if Russia opens back up. Because while they may be waiting with bated breath for our money, anything that happens that the Russians don't like, you bet that there will be punitive sanctions delivered on American companies, simply because Trump kisses up to Putin really will not protect your employees. So think about the potential risk, and that risk could be expropriation. That risk could be you're in bed with the Russian government for a 51-49 split on a JV. Think about your employees' individual safety. There are lots of risks going forward. And finally, FTI has suffered a pretty big financial hit as one of its partners who was fired in 2023 has opened up a new shop to compete with FTI on their most profitable business line, which apparently is testimony on economic damages in lawsuits. So it shows that even some of the biggest consulting firms still are driven by human capital. At the start of this podcast, the sponsor for the entire Compliance Podcast Network is Ethico. Well, Ethico has a great new offering this month for you, a toolkit for middle managers. This is something that you, as the compliance professional, can use to move your compliance program forward by giving middle managers the skills necessary to answer a call for speak up or when someone comes in their office and raises a concern. I can't think of a tool that will be more valuable for you in the current era of enforcement. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network and a proud member of C-Suite Radio. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow.